Hello everyone, this is Cybertronian Beast, and let's talk Transformers. Today we're taking a look at Transformers ReGeneration 1, issue number 86. The cover I have here was done by Guido Guidi, and features a beaten and battered Optimus Prime, surrounded by the faces of the characters that died in the last issue. So we've got Springer here on the left-hand side of the page. We've got Ratchet, and we've got Megatron. And issue 85, the last issue, was intense. One of the best comic books I've read in a long time. Single standalone comics I've read in a long time. There have been trades that have been better, but single issue 85 was quite far up there on my list. So let's get into issue 86 and see where we're at. So as you can see, there are a couple of different covers here. The first one, cover A, features the Dinobots flanking Scorponok. Then you've got the Guido Guidi cover and the limited production cover showing Slag breathing fire on Grimlock. We'll get to see what that's all about in a second. So we open up the first page and we've got Slag pinned down, and it starts off by saying that this happened a few years ago. In Cybertronian years, they call it Terran years. So 5 Terran years. And it's in a place called the Nursery. I'm assuming it's some kind of medibay or medic. So basically it's got the Dinobots surrounding Slag. They're all saying that the reason why Slag is stuck in his, alt mode is due to Grimlock. And Grimlock basically says that it's it was the only choice he could make at the time. And then the rest of the Dinobots point out that, really, they've got all these other guys here that are stuck in their alt modes or stuck in their particular mode as well. So we've got Blaster sitting over here, we've got Silverbolt, we've got Huffer down here, and we've got Inferno up here. And up here we've got Grimlock saying that he realizes that he made some mistakes, and he wasn't happy with the turnout of it, but it was the only decision he could make. These two panels here are throwbacks to issue 70 and 76 of the Marvel series. Issue 70, he grabs a compound called Nucleon, which is the compound that basically made Grimlock stay in his robot form, and that's what these other bots have been exposed to. We fast forward to present day, and we've got Grimlock hanging from the ceiling in a base that Scorponok is holding him in, and he's continuing on with the negotiation from the last issue, where he's trying to get him to join his little team and take on Cybertron, and he's offering him as a bargaining chip a brand new body, a transformable body. I should mention that the art in this book is done by Andrew Wildman, and it is fantastic. Just at the end, he gives a little bit of a history on Scorponok. Basically, because Grimlock asks Scorponok how he changed so much. He asked him, because they had met before, why their previous meetings were strictly battle with no words, and now their meetings are words and no battle. And he describes his change as when he bonded with his human counterpart, Zarek. The genius of Zarek expanded his Cybertronian mind. And that's the difference that was made. And there's the body, the bargaining chip offered to Grimlock. And over here we go to Cybertron, where Hot Rod, Blur, and Grapple are investigating the Hall of Silence break-in. And inside, we all know, as readers, we know it's Soundwave messing around with it. And this panel here is interesting. You get a point of view shot from Soundwave where he sees the security system from inside the Hall of Silence, and he has kind of a divining rod that is telling him which way he needs to go and what time he needs to go there. And it's very interesting that you see it from that point. The Autobots on the outside are basically discussing their one and only option, which is to blow up the Hall of Silence to keep Soundwave, which they still don't know it's him, away from Dreadwing. And even Grapple, who explains that he built it, but he knows the only decision is to blow it up. And continuing from previous issues, Hot Rod is struggling with the decision to blow it up, knowing that it may be the wrong decision. While they're struggling and discussing this, Soundwave does make it to the chamber where Dreadwing's body / parts is kept, and from the looks of it, it does look like Soundwave kind of teleports out of the Hall of Silence as Hot Rod makes the call to detonate the Hall of Silence, which it does in fact blow up and is completely gone. But it appears as though Soundwave has made it away scot-free. Now we get back to Earth, where the battle from previous issues is over, and the Autobots that have remained are cleaning up the mess. We have Cosmos here, dumping bodies in a mass grave, and the Autobots that are dragging and hauling the bodies away are discussing the fact that some of these bodies are Autobots that weren't they weren't all Decepticons. The last shot here is Cosmos picking up the body of Megatron and dumping him. First Aid appears to give him a status report saying that he's got four Autobots in the critical list: Leadfoot, Mirage, Brawn, and Broadside, and 2 fatalities, Springer and Ratchet. But yeah. First Aid then offers to repair Prime, make him look as good as new. Prime turns down that offer, saying that he will bear his scrapes and his broken bits as a sign of respect to the other Autobots that are also banged up and bruised. Cup and Optimus goes up to Cup then and apologizes essentially for not listening to him. Because if you remember from the first early books, it was Cup that had his kind of secret agenda to get down here and see what the hell was going on, and ignored the words of Prime. It's It's at this time that Spike, aka Circuit Smasher, shows up with the rest of his band of human misfits. So he's got, I can't remember his name. They don't actually say it here. Whatever, wheelchair guy. I want to say Chip Chase, but it's not Chip Chase. It's like, I know it starts with it's like Braddock or something like that. Yeah. Basically what Spike is telling Prime is that the human race has voted, and they voted to get them out of there. They don't want the Cybertronians' help, or the Autobots' help. And Prime explains that they'll need their help now more than ever to rebuild, and they say, no, we don't care, we want you out. So Wheeljack and the rest of the cleanup crew throw the last body into the pile, which is Starscream's, and as they drive off, they say that as soon as we're clear, they'll get Ultra Magnus aboard the hypercruiser to vaporize the mass grave. And at the bottom here you find that Starscream is still online. He gets out of the mass grave, transforms, and flies off, just as the mass grave is vaporized. We now know that Starscream is still alive. We now go back to Nebulos, where Grimlock is attempting escape, and he escapes. Well, at least gets down from the ceiling, and he starts hauling ass through the corridors, where he finds none other than Slag there, and he's convinced that Slag was brainwashed to fight him, but then he finds that the rest of the Dinobots are also there to fight him as well, and they're there to, and they basically explain that they're going to enjoy this because they believe Grimlock had it coming, and that all this time Grimlock has been gambling with their lives, and now it's Judgment Day for Grimlock. They all proclaim him guilty right there, and they knock him out essentially. And when he wakes up again, he's back on the ceiling. Now, when I read this, I didn't know this whole section with the Dinobots here. I didn't know whether it is actually something that happened or it's something that Scorponok had done in his head, because this whole section here it explains that it may have been a dream sequence or something. So Scorponok says to him, "Welcome back." Grimlock says, "What? But?" And then Scorponok explains, "No need for your brute force or blunt coercion when the mindscape allows for more sophisticated torture. What really shackles you, Grimlock, is your own conscience." And then Grimlock explains that you win. So I don't know what they're trying to say, whether this whole thing with the other 4 Dinobots actually happened, or if it was all a big game in his head. Basically, the end game though is that Scorponok has gotten his Dinobot. He got his Grimlock, and they're going to go back to Cybertron and make a planet of Decepticons. And the last page here, we're back on Earth in Yukon territory at the Ark, and Sunstreaker and Roadbuster are basically trying to keep watch, and they just tell each other that with them two on watch and so much ground to cover, something could get by and they wouldn't even know. And that's essentially what happens, where Starscream just flies by and they don't even know. and he lands and meets up with Galvatron, and that's where it ends. And that's really interesting because I do like the idea that Galvatron's in here now, and it'll be interesting to see, because if you remember from the early books, where not the early like Marvel books, but like issue 81, 82, Starscream's not all there completely. He's got some issues. He still has a consciousness that allows him to know what's going on, but not enough to basically do anything about it. Now, the fact that he was able to transform and fly off, that's a step in the right direction for him. But it'll be interesting to see if Galvatron can repair him to the point where he can be a valued asset of the Decepticon cause. So there's a picture of what next book will be, entitled War Cry. We've got Galvatron and Starscream together, which I'll never get used to seeing those two together. As a G1 purist, I always envision Starscream getting blown to bits by Galvatron and that being it. And there's a couple images from next issues of the upcoming books. Robots in Disguise number 12 has the return of Megatron, who is completely decimated, and More Than Meets the Eye has a big Decepticon bomb on it, so that'll be interesting to see what happens there. And a couple other books that IDW is working on. Augusta Wind, sorry, The Adventures of Augusta Wind, an ad for CGC, My Little Pony, which is out now, issue 2, this is an ad for issue 2, and an ad for Kiss, and the back Popeye. So yeah, I mean, this book was pretty good. I really did like it. It did definitely take a step back in the action from where 85 was, but I think it was a proper step where it was more of a cooling down period, where 85 was your climax, if you want to use that, and 86 is your cool down. Now it's building up again with Starscream and Galvatron. It's got the secondary storyline with the Dinobots and Scorponok, but I do really like where this book is going, and again, the art with Andrew Wildman is fantastic. I really do look forward to the continued future of ReGeneration 1, and I hope that the rest of you are enjoying this as well. Alright. Anyway, thanks for watching. This has been Cybertronian Beast, and I'll talk to you later.